shifting the focus away from designing ever more elaborate processes towards a more, like, goal.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Have you ever just, looked around America? I mean, a country with this much wealth, so much innovation.
Yeah, incredible drive.
Exactly. And yet it feels like we struggle with some really basic stuff, like affordable housing or modern infrastructure.
Getting clean energy projects actually built?
Right. Without getting tangled up for years in red tape, it seems like we have the money, the brains, the ambition, but actually building things, making things better, more plentiful, it feels incredibly hard sometimes.
That exact puzzle is where these sources we're looking at really kick off. They float this powerful idea.
Which is?
What if this scarcity we see, not enough affordable homes, slow infrastructure upgrades, hurdles for clean energy,
Right.
what if it isn't like a natural limit?
Okay.
What if, according to these sources, it's mostly down to choices, deliberate choices we've made?
Choices.
Yeah, they actually have a term for it, chosen scarcity.
Chosen scarcity. Wow, okay. That definitely makes you stop and think.
It does, right.
Yeah.
And the sources really dig into why they call it that. They point to specific policies, but also cultural attitudes.
Like what, for example?
Well, take zoning laws. They highlight how incredibly restrictive they often are. Laws written decades ago sometimes that severely limit where you can build housing and what kind of housing.
Right. I've heard about this, like huge areas zoned only for single-family homes.
Exactly. Which makes it legally impossible to build duplexes or townhomes or small apartment buildings, the kind of stuff you need to actually increase supply where people need it.
So that's one piece. What else?
It's not just zoning. The sources also talk about these really complex, sort of multi-layered approval processes.
The infamous red tape.
Totally. They give examples. Could be housing, could be a solar farm, projects getting stuck for years. Literally years.
Just navigating permits.
Yeah, navigating dozens of different agencies, local, state, federal. Each one has its own checklist, its own potential veto.
So it's easy to say no, basically, or just slow things way down.
Much easier than getting a yes. And the sources argue this combines with a kind of cautious political culture, often more focused on avoiding any risk than on enabling real progress.
Which creates these artificial bottlenecks.
That's the argument. These aren't like laws of physics holding us back. They're policy choices, cultural habits that end up looking like scarcity.
Okay, so for this deep dive, our mission is really to understand this chosen scarcity idea based on these sources.
Right, why they think it exists, what it looks like.
And then explore the alternative they propose, this abundance agenda.
Exactly. What does that path actually involve? We want to dig in and hopefully give you some aha moments about what's shaping things and what could be different.
What strikes me is how the sources frame this. It's not just technical, like fixing regulations.
No, it's deeper. They see it as a fundamental political and maybe cultural challenge.
About overcoming that inertia, that caution and complexity that maybe wasn't intended to create scarcity, but kind of does.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay, so if chosen scarcity is the problem, what does this abundance agenda actually suggest we do differently? According to the sources, I mean.
Well, they outline a few core shifts. First, and this is a big one, radically simplifying the regulatory mess that currently gums everything up.
How?
Things like maybe replacing these really subjective review processes with clear, objective standards. You meet the criteria, boom, you get approved quickly. No endless debates.
Okay, clarity and speed. What else?
Second, a shift in mindset. Actively embracing growth and building, seeing it as necessary, for progress and a better quality of life, not something suspicious.
Instead of the default being no or wait.
Sort of, yeah. And third, getting more comfortable with trade-offs, acknowledging that building things does have impact, sure.
You can't make a helmet.
Right. So finding ways to manage the big impacts without letting the quest for zero risk just stop everything.
And there was something about liberalism itself.
Yeah, that's a fascinating part. The sources suggest kind of reimagining it, shifting the focus away from designing ever more elaborate processes towards a more goal-oriented approach, prioritizing the actual outcomes.
Meaning
Focusing on getting more clean energy online, building those affordable homes, upgrading transit, focusing on the tangible results for people, maybe more than perfecting the process itself. Results over procedure, essentially.
So if you zoom out, the picture these sources are painting is, well, it's pretty different.
It is. It's a future where things like housing, energy, infrastructure are more plentiful, more accessible, more affordable.
Because the system actually allows them to be built efficiently.
That's the vision, where innovation doesn't constantly hit these administrative walls built out of maybe excessive caution and complexity.
It sounds hopeful, almost utopian.
It's definitely hopeful, but the sources seem pretty grounded too. They admit pursuing this abundance involves risks. It requires tough trade-offs.
And challenging the status quo.
Definitely. Confronting powerful interests that might actually benefit from the current way things are. It's not just a policy tweak. They frame it as a real cultural and political shift needed.
Which really brings up a core question for you, the listener, based on what these sources argue. Why have we ended up with this system of chosen scarcity, as they call it? What are those underlying barriers, political, cultural, that make saying no so much easier than saying yes?
Exactly. It really forces you to think about the choice they present. Do we stick with a path that seems, maybe unintentionally, shaped by a fear of change and complexity? A path leading to scarcity in key areas? Or do we consciously choose something different? A path centered on growth, on innovation, on the possibility of abundance? What would politics focused on possibility, on actually getting things done for a better future?
Right.
What would that even look like compared to what the sources describe now?
A politics designed to enable, not just prevent.
That's the core idea they leave us with to really mull over.
Grab Abundance by Ezra Klein, Derek Thompson, now on sale for $19.95. Don't miss this chance to build good habit and achieve remarkable results. Buy now today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.